Afrumge, I see you. I hope you see me. As I pour libations today, I'm going to pour it in this receptacle. And I'm going to use water, not wine, not rice, not honey. These are possible items I could use to pour libations. Some things that you can sprinkle on the ground, you can pour on the ground. I pour libations today, first and foremost, in the glorious name of Chineke. Chi, the male energy, masculine energy of the Creator, and Eke, the feminine energy of the Creator. I pour libations and I say, Ise. Ise means, and so it is in Igbo Nigerian language. I pour libations to the four winds, to east, west, north, and south. I say Ise. I pour libations in honor of the great ancestors, the great grandmothers, the great grandfathers. Ise. I pour libations and ask for their wisdom to continue to flow through me, accessible through the power of my spirit. He say, I pour libations today in honor of all that is good in the universe, the sun, the moon, the wind, the oceans, everything that gives us life, everything that supports life on earth. I pour libations in their honor. I pour libations and call upon the Creator in all the names that we use to call upon the Creator. Chineke, Olodumare, Kamuna, Jinyami, Katonda, Inyemi, Nkosi, Uvuzilele. God has a different name in different tongues. Call upon Chineke. We call upon you today. We ask for good health. We ask for high moral quality. We have asked for peace and love, which is within the personal ability of each and every one of us. We call upon the spirit of those individuals that have made it to the ripe old age of 80, because we realize that we reincarnate. We have 7 opportunities to get our lives right. So for those who have made it to the age of 80, we pour libations today and call upon their names. We pour libations in honor of those who are still on their journey, who have not made it to age 80. We wish them well wherever they are. We call upon the spirit of those yet unborn, and we ask that when they come into this earth, that they will inherit nothing but the goodness that we ourselves have put in front of them, that we have done to ensure that they live a fruitful and healthy life. We call upon the spirit of our personal ancestors, and I ask you at this time to call upon your ancestors. Come on your call upon my mother who has become an ancestor. Musa, Ngozi Musa, Noha, Ngozi Musa, Onyoha. I call upon you today, your journey. May your journey be bright. You made it to the right old age of 91. We want you to be with us to continue your journey. But your journey is now, you have elevated to ancestorhood. So we ask you to continue to watch over us, to protect us from all evil. Stay in front of us, behind us, beside us. Anything that we touch, may it turn into gold. Help us to see any dangers in front of us. Help us to see any dangers anywhere around us. I ask all of you to please call upon the names of your ancestors. Call them, because if you don't, that means that they didn't exist, and that means you certainly don't exist. So I call upon your ancestors. Ise, 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 Ise. I will ask you to make noise for the ancestors. Make noise for the ancestors. Please make noise for the ancestors, because when you make noise for the ancestors, you acknowledge them, you let them know that you still have their names on your tongue. You acknowledge them, you let them know that they still matter. You acknowledge them by letting them know that you appreciate the fact that they live. Thank you, Chineke, for this wonderful opportunity that you've given us, for breath, for the ability to walk, for the ability to eat, for the ability to do all those things that sometimes we take for granted, but we shouldn't. And so I am going to end my libations with a famous libation song. oge nke Chineke kama, chere ya n'ụma bụrụ na oge ahụ dị anya, chere ya ekwedula ka obi gị daa mba, chere ya mgbe oge ruru ọ ga-abịa kwa, chere ya chukwu nke igwe ọ na-echeta gị, chere ya ọ dịghị mgbe ọ na-echefu gị, chere ya n'ezie n'ihe banyere gị ha niile na-emetụ Chineke n'obi, chere oge ya. Chineke's time is always the best. Sometimes it seems like your blessings are taking too long coming. Just be patient. Know that when the time is right, the Most High, the noble ancestors will come forward with what your needs are and bless you more than you can even ever imagine. They will bless you. They will bless you. You're already blessed. Know it, believe it, and act it. And so it is. I say, Ise. And finally, I ask you to call your names. Wherever you are, call your name. Because someday you want to be an ancestor. You want to get to be the age of 80. So when you put your name out there in the universe will respond and will help you to achieve ancestorhood. You keep living and keep living. Keep living. Yagazie. Ofo. Ise. And so it is. And so it is. I take some water, I sprinkle on the floor, I sprinkle on myself, and I will take some of this water and I'll sprinkle all around me just to cool the temperature, to remove anything in my path that will do me any harm. And so it is. Yakazie, I see you. I hope you see me. And so it is. Dewonu. Welcome to another episode of Chiism Live. I had to do libations first before anything else because, quite frankly, there's just so much going on in our world that I just needed that energy, just needed Chineke to intervene and intercept anything before we even start talking. And that's why I felt it was important to do that libation ceremony. And I welcome all of you. Obviously, you are alive, you're breathing. That's why you're here. You didn't get bombed on your way here. You are alive and well, and we are very grateful that you're here to join us. It is my pleasure, as always, to bring to the forefront, Dibia Ochuaja, UD Onyoha, my co-host. Onyeze.
Ogele Yagazie, you look as wonderful as you always do. Absolutely marvelous, just marvelous. Anyway, I might even, this voice of mine, I'm thinking about donating this voice to Hollywood. The way I'm sounding right now. But anyway, I had to put my Chiism shirt on this morning because I'm feeling real spiritual. So I just didn't want to put all the traditional African get up. I just said, I'm just going to make my statement by putting my shirt on and, getting spiritual today. Thank you for the libation. That was so uplifting. And just makes you feel there's still hope in this world, at least for our people. And as long as we do the right things and look at the world the way we're supposed to, from our own perspective, define the world by our own terms, we will be all right. Yeah, guys here.
Yeah, guys here. Thank you so much. And now my pleasure to bring in Dibia Chiedozie Okoro. Oh, yes, Mama.
Hey. Why? People are trying to everybody today. I say to the prayers.
Yeah.
The Mother Earth be kind to us.
Yes.
He say
absolutely. You're looking sharp, You're looking sharp today, Dibia Chiedozie. You're looking real good, man. I'm telling you. I'm getting jealous over here.
Your wife is feeding.
No, be jealous now. This one, I want to come out for your neck. This one.
I'm telling you, I'm just like, guys, Chiedozie, he's all G'd up this morning. He's looking good, man. I'm over here trying to flaunt my spiritual shirt. He comes in here like a king. What's going on, man?
This one, I'm going to die your own ancestor. So I want that ancestor.
Okay.
Listen, I have to tell you guys, I'm excited about the topic today, which is what is African spiritual concepts of creation. Many of us believe in the the concept of Adam and Eve, and that's one international view. That's one other religious view, and that's perfectly okay because everybody wants to see life from their own perspective. So the whole concept of Adam and Eve is that the concept of the Christian faith, and that's perfectly okay. That's their concept. So the question is, which one is ours? Did we not have any concept about how life began? But before we start going into all of that, there are some human interest stories that I want us to kind of look at today. Spirituality means that you act a certain way. It's not something that you go to a building and you regurgitate passages from your holy book or whatever, and then when we go out of there, we act differently. You know, you can't be a member of an organization that says, "Hey, we protect all living things, even women, even your wives are part of that." Creation. So I want to share, and I really admire this pastor who has selected a way to deal with men who beat women. I thought it was really fascinating, and I concur with him that this is what he said to members of his congregation, and I want you guys to hear. Again, this is human interest story, so we're going to talk about all these different things going on in our world before we focus on ours. So I want to play this pastor. Fascinating. 1 second here.
I said there are certain marriages that should break. There was nothing they didn't say, but that's why I kept quiet now. Did you hear me say anything now? I didn't talk. But now, that's not the latest. Everybody's talking now. And somebody reached out to me saying, when you said it years ago, they insulted you. What did they say? You are in a marriage, a man is beating you. You won't leave him. Stay there now. You will die. We'll bury you. A man raise hand and beat. If I catch you in this church as a man, you beat your wife, we will beat you. I'm not joking, no. What is happening? All those women that husbands are beating, don't they have brothers? If they have no biological brother, they have Christian brothers. I'm warning you now, if you are beating your wife, stop it. If your wife reports you to me that you are beating her, I will go to the police, I will take permission. So after police, who will you report me to now? And let them know what is happening, that as a pastor, that you allow me and some brethren, I will gather them, we will keep you in one room, beat you, so you will know the feeling of a slap. You will know what it means to slap somebody. Why are you looking at me like that? The Bible only says, thou shalt not kill. It didn't say, thou shalt not beat. Only weak men beat women. Weak men. Weak men. Men that lose capacity. Any man you see beating a woman is a weak man. How did you get the woman? You talk. Can you keep her? Talk. To control a woman is in your mouth, not your hand. When what your mouth should do, your hand now do. You are an animal. How many of you know that animals don't beat their spouse? You can't see a he-goat beat. Have you seen a she-goat heading a he-goat? The he-goat will just be running and going to the side. He never fight back. Animals don't beat their spouse. Any man that beats his wife is less than an animal. This church, you beat your wife, we will beat you. I've told you. If the marriage is not working, everybody go. You cannot die inside the thing called marriage. Before yes, I do kill you. Kill yes, I do. Go. Because if you die, the man will marry somebody else. What is all this nonsense? People have brothers. You have a brother as a lady and they are beating you. All your brothers are useless. They are beating you. Invade the man's house. And all of you hold your hands together and pray first. Pray and commit that beating to the hand of God.
I was like, oh my God.
It's like, before you start the beating, make sure that it has divine blessing. So pray first Say, Chineke, this hand,
So that the
I'm
guy
supposed to use this hand.
So even when you bring the guy the wrong place, the guy will not die.
But I don't know if you.
Oh
The reason why he said what he said, there's a woman named Osinachi Nwachukwu.
Yeah.
Her husband killed her because he was jealous of the fact that she was making a lot of money, and he didn't. She went to an event that he didn't approve of. Now, what is so silly about this whole thing is that she's the one that is making the money, and you're taking the money that she's making and using it to buy fancy cars. You're living a fancy life, but then you choose to kill her because she chose to go to an event without your permission.
Which brings in the money, by the way.
Which brings in the money. And as a matter of fact, when she gets the money, she gives it all to you. It's not fair, but that's what's happening. So when the death of this woman, she's a powerful singer. I mean, if you've listened to some of her music, it's just so moving. She's so moving. And it's a loss. She's a loss to the community. A woman with that kind of talent, and she walks into the house and you kill her because she went somewhere you didn't approve. My God, who does that? That is not a spiritual person, but he's a member of that church. He's a member of that church. So what that pastor is saying is true. And if you have a brother, if you're a married man and your wife has brothers, do your job. Find an alleyway somewhere. Yes, I said it. Pull him to an alleyway and teach him, you don't touch my sister. Anyone who sits in church and say, that's my sister, but you don't want to, they say to turn the other side. What is all that stuff? Turn the other face and all that. No, If I have a brother and a man is beating me, and my brother doesn't come through that door, storm through the door, you don't press the doggone doorbell. Break the door down. And get him.
Yep.
Get him for me. Because nobody has the right to beat up on a woman. And a woman doesn't have the right to beat up on a man either. Yes, I said it. If you want to quote me, quote me. That door would knock it down.
You should have played the video of the guy who was slapping his wife around till she got mad, picked up this dude, put him on the ground. This lady proceeded to beat the hell out of this guy. I bet you after that beating, he never put hands on her again.
Let me say this so people don't misunderstand where I'm going. I don't believe in violence. I don't. But when you beat a woman to the extent of killing her, that's the kind of violence that Chineke does not want. Nobody can engage in that. I think if somebody dies because they had an accident or they die because of age, that's the way. What are you going to do about that? But if somebody dies because you think you have the audacity to take a life because that person you see is weak in your mind, then the consequence should be fierce and immediate.
Yeah.
No holding back. No, hey, brother, me make we talk. No, we not talk. I would, you know how you release a dog, a pound dog, a dog from the pound who's hungry? I will release my brothers on your behind. Excuse my expression. You don't touch me. You don't do to me what God doesn't do to me. I don't have to put my hand on you. I got brothers, honey. Think about that. But I'm not married to such a man. So he's safe. He's safe. Because I will say, Yudi, get over here. Somebody's losing his mind. Need to be straightened out.
I'll relive my past glories of when I used to do karate.
Put it back in practice. But I tell you though, what he said about the brothers in the church, not allowing every woman who comes into that church should feel safe. They should feel safe. You know, sometimes things go so wrong that you need an environment. For some people, it's church. For some people, it's shrine. But a woman in that church, if they come to that pastor and the pastor say, nah, Charlie and Archie, you know, make you laugh, make you smile, make you cook for them, that pastor is the one that needs a whipping. No, that pastor did exactly what he's supposed to do. He's speaking for Chineke. You know, we know what we're supposed to do. Sometimes we just have to do it. So that is one human interest story that I want to share. There's another one. And I want you and Dibia Ochuaja and Dibia Chiedozie, you guys will comment on this. If the government is doing what they're supposed to do, people are not going to be doing anything they can to survive. Sometimes that effort is what leads to catastrophe. So I want to play this video. Now, what happens sometimes when I share this video in this way, because I want two of you to be online when this is playing and you can comment on it, it may cut off. It may cut me off. If it cuts me off, you guys stay and I'll come back in. Then I'll remove it if it's causing a problem. All right. So this is what Dibia Ochoa just shared with me today that happened in Nigeria.
Oh my God. Chineke. Jesus Christ. See, under the motor. Under motor. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Jesus. Look at human being. Look at human being. Yes, with anger, with pain. Look at human being. Look at human being. The green, the green. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Blood of Jesus. Blood of Jesus. Blood of Jesus. Blood of Jesus. Hey! Jesus Christ. Jesus. Jesus. Small children. Jesus. Look at Hey! See woman, see it. See. Jesus.
Yeah, enough to make your stomach just going. Well, this happened, I think it was on the 22nd, 2 days ago, in Egbema. It's a boundary community between Rivers State and Imo State. And this is really a result of unemployment and poverty, where people have to do whatever they need to do to survive. Nigerian unemployment rate is like 80-some%. So you have people that wake up every day and the only thing they have on their mind is, how do I eat today? So there's something called the illegal bunkering of oil, where you have access to oil that you could get your hands on and then sell it in the black market to make a little bit of money, because you don't really have any other avenue of income. This is an area where agriculture, in terms of fishing, is part of their economic way of life. And due to the lack of, environmental care, where oil pollutes rivers and all that, and people that used to be fishermen that sustained themselves and their family and the community through fishing no longer have the capability to fish, because the fish is gone, it's dead. There's oil everywhere. The rivers are polluted. So people are left with no other choice but to fend for themselves in any way necessary, including doing something, that is illegal, but you really have no choice. It's not like they went up there to go rob anybody. There's oil coming from the ground. They go to get that oil, and in the process of giving that oil, women with their babies strapped to their back, probably ain't eating in a few days, just looking for a way to make some kind of money. The depot exploded. The illegal bunkering exploded. I don't know what caused the explosion, but it burned over 100 people to death, burned them to crisp. No chance of survival. Nigeria doesn't really have any emergency services anyway. It's not like if you call the fire service, they could come there on time and put out the fire. Once you get caught up in Nigeria, you get caught up. Once you get caught up in any African country, really, maybe South Africa might be an exception, or maybe Rwanda or something. But in Africa in general, once you get caught up, you're caught up. You have government that is not effective in any area of human endeavor. You have infrastructure that is practically non-existent. You have there's no unity, there's no care, there's no love for our citizens as Africans. Everything that we built has been built under somebody else's outlook or understanding of how a society should be structured. Our history, things that we learn in school, the society that we have built is not built with the intention of unifying us to the extent where we care for one another. So what you see, the violence that you see, not just with this oil that exploded, but with the husbands that decide that they're going to put their hands on their wives because they have no understanding of their cultural history. They don't understand that it's not part of African culture.
No, it's not.
But the way it's put out there, people would think that that's what Africans do. Yep. African societies, most of them are metrical. They're not patriarchal societies. In my village in Nkporo, I come from where my mom comes from, if I'm an Nkporo person, not where my daddy comes from. The woman has always been the priority. Not that the woman is more important than the man, but she has equal billing just as much as the man, just like we discussed today. There's no life without the man, the male. There's no life without the female. It's a natural partnership of 50-50. You cannot, the world is pregnant. The universe is pregnant. The oceans is pregnant with fish and everything that sustains us. Everything about life, like you pointed out, the apple has seeds in it. There's nothing about life that is not pregnant. The dark cloud is pregnant with water, with the lightning and the thunder. Look around you. Everywhere you look around, there's a level of pregnancy in nature. The female aspects of nature dominates everything, but without the male aspect, that part of it does not exist either. So if we don't understand the importance of the female, if we don't understand the importance of the woman, if we don't understand the importance or the idea that without the female, there is no male. The female births the male. You only need your seed, that's it. The female handles everything else, the incubation, the nurturing of that baby from the time that the baby is conceived until the baby is birthed. The woman takes care of all that stuff. The man did nothing but provide the seed. So how in the world you think you're more important than the woman? It beats the heck out of me, because naturally you're not designed to nurture anything. You're not designed to carry the baby. A man cannot get himself pregnant and deliver a child, neither can a woman. So if you don't understand how important the woman is to this partnership called life, that's when you end up putting your hands on the woman as opposed to giving her her due, giving her her props, understanding that she is 50-50, she is part of this cauldron of life. And without her, nothing is possible. The world is pregnant all the time. That is the female essence of creation. And as what you saw in the video with all the people that ended up dead and all that, that is just because of lack of a cultural awareness that the people come first before the individual. Self-love. If our governments in Africa, if they have any love for their citizens, then they will provide the infrastructure, provide the opportunity where people are able to flourish, where people don't have to wake up, strap their baby on their backs, go into the bush to go and get their hands on some oil and then end up burned to crisp because they have no other way of sustenance. This is just the tragedy of being African right now. And this lack of caring is just not limited to Africa. I don't think Jamaicans really care for each other that much either. Neither do the Haitians or the African Americans or the British black. Whatever you see happening in Africa is happening in every African community all over the world. There's no self-love. We're not unified in our thinking where we care for ourselves enough to create opportunities and be our brothers and our sisters' keepers.
Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, you said it. You said it. Dibia Chiedozie, you want to add to that?
I'm far and dumbfounded. We got wind of this the very day it happened. And usually I don't like watching such things because it really makes me, it puts me on the very, very low side of life. It makes me, I would not like to say it makes me to regret being African. Rather, it challenges the humanity in me. But I think starting from what you, Ezewine said, and Dibia Ochuaja, just your submission, I think we have not built a society yet in any of the typical African country. Because the society is not about survival of the fittest. That is why we have to leave the jungle to build the society. The reason why we build society is so that we can have help one another, because that is why we need society. So the first sense of society is security, belongingness, sense of solidarity, and all these are not there, and they're not there because from the moment we got the so-called independence, quote and unquote, we forgot that what colonization came to do was to destroy who we are, and who we are is our spirituality. And what is that spirituality? It is the spirituality of complementarity. The relationship may not be equal, it may not be 50-50. It could be 99, 1%. But if that 1% is not added to the 99, 100 is not made. You can say that of the Yoruba Christian story, whereby 2001 deities came back, messengers rather, came down from heaven, sent by Olodumare. 200 were male, 1 was female. All the male did all they could on their mission to earth, but the mission did not gel. They had to go back to heaven. And Olodumare asked them, how come your mission is yet unaccomplished? And they said, well, we tried all we could. But I said, what about the only female Oshun that I put in your midst? He said, oh, we ignored her. He said, oh, if you don't put her in the middle, and all of you, your activities will be coordinated by her, it is she that will make all your activity, your vitality, your virility, it is she that will bear it into fruition. Without her, nothing you do will be complete. So it could be 99.1%, but if that 1% is not added, the 100% is not complete. And 99 is not 100. Because 99 is lacking in something. If you put it the other way around, the female could be actual as 99.9%, but if the 0.001% of the male is not added, then there's no complementarity. So our ancestors built a society of complementarity. And we have refused to go back to that spirituality. Now, the pastor that talked about beating as a solution, well, I give him kudos. But in our society, traditional society, so it was organized on the principle of complementarity. There were female institutions and male institutions. Men don't run women affairs. Women don't run male affairs. And when a man abuses his wife in any way, the male court deals with him. And they deal with him on three fronts: the family that was extended, his age grade, and the guild he belongs to.
Yeah.
Before he finished paying the fines and do all the rituals, when next he sees a woman, he will respect a woman. Same applies to the woman. If by omission or commission you do something that the society considers to be crime against your husband, it's the female institutions that dealt with you. And you know what the women that can do to themselves. You know what the females can do to themselves. So when males punish male, even those ones that are weak among the male, we use this very strong guy to prove that they are right, they are strong. Like what happened to Okonko and things fall apart. So we must go back to that kind of setting. If we like, let's educate the churches to reenact that kind of setting. That guy, other things that will be done to him that will be traumatizing, psychologically traumatizing. And at the end of the day, if we, now I move over to the government, if the government allows societies to run naturally on our spirituality, so that from our spirituality and from our ethnic groups and our villages, law making follows a bottom up gradation, not a top down imposition. Then the laws will derive from the villages, from the villages, from the clans, from the ethnicities, and then to the nation. Then it will have efficacy. Then the traditional laws will be invoked on creating balance. Then it will now be government and the people, not government versus the people. What we are practicing for now is colonization. Before the white man came, we had government and the people, Ohaneze, in which everybody had a right to the natural resources of the environment. And communalism meant you did not need to ask for it. It was provided.
Yep.
Your rights were given to you. That's what communalism meant. So when people talked about Africans not knowing rights, we didn't need to fight for our rights because it was provided for. We didn't need to make will because the man, if he had two wives, he divided his property even when he was alive. The woman and the children knew which property they took care of. And they continue to take care of it if the man is not around. It is to my mother-in-law, for instance, the husband is late. But anytime they want to share, I say, Chatekwa no de Christopher Joko. 1 year no kwaya. Alagari de Christopher Joko. See 1 year or koya. Anything that is due to de Christopher Joko is still given to the woman up till date, except she's not in the village. But once she's in the village, or she says, give to anybody to hold on my behalf, they give to that person to take care of it on her behalf. So when they came, that chain was cut. We had to pay tax on the land we lived, long before the colonizers came. We have to pay tax on the houses we built. We have to pay tax on our head, land tax, hot tax, head tax. Women had to be domesticated at home. Why the man went in search of a fortune, Igbo. When we got our so-called independence, the post-colonial Africa continued with colonization, internal colonization. We refused to go back to our spirituality, whereby it was usually the anchor, the and how things will benefit all the parties, the general we. Everybody must be involved and taken care of. And so if we go back to that kind of spirituality, the community from which natural resources is taken will be compensated right from the point of derivation. Every barrel of oil you derive, the community will have a percentage. Say 10%, say 5%, but you have a percentage. The man or the family that has that land, every member of that family will be entitled to a percent. Say in a barrel of oil, 1% for the whole family. But 1% in million places, 1% in billion places is a lot of money. So if on such we go, then naturally people's mind will not go towards vandalizing. It will not go towards bunkering. Their mind will be moved towards creative things, towards being constructive. But the way we are running society is pure internal colonization, and the people will find a way of taking care of themselves. In the process, this sort of eyesore will keep happening. It's a pity until we go back to where we began. The rain began to beat us. It will continue to beat us.
True, true. True, true. Your microphone, you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you say. And it would be the whole idea, obviously, the preferable idea is that we go back to the way things are. But in the meantime, there's got to be some element of fear to do certain things, you see.
Sure.
And what that pastor is saying to these people is, it's not our culture. We don't do that. And if you want to do that, this is what's going to happen to you. Meanwhile, we are going to plan to do it the right way. But in the meantime, you will not beat a sister in here. I'm going to ask you guys, how is it? Now, you have shared, but you may want to go into details of how life began in the African spiritual traditions. How was creation? Yudi, I'll start with you. How was creation? What did the Igbos believe about creation?
Now, it's a very, very, the question is complex in this way. There's no hat that fits all. We have certain commonalities, right? One of those commonalities is the belief in Chineke, chukwu, chiokike. We all as Igbos believe that. Yorubas believe that too, but they don't call it Chineke, they call it Olodumare. You know, you have the Tamana Bangij or whatever. Christians, you know, Yahweh, or I mean Jews, Yahweh, and Muslims, you know, what do you call it? Allah. It's all the same thing. So that's a commonality. So in Igbo cosmogony, it's a commonality. Now, the willingness of the people to come together can be said to depend largely on the education which can be defined as a deliberate system of cultural promotion, of course, instigation, by which a person is forced to fit squarely into the society to which he or she belongs as a responsible citizen. Now, in ancient times, even before schools existed, the purpose of education was to train members of a community in fundamental skills, right? Approved belief systems, habits, customs, group education, you know, and traditions and religions of a community. The skills that you acquire, skills of defense, you know, from perceived enemies, your skill in farming, shelter, which is in architecture, were also included in the education of youth through your parents before the institutions of formal schools, came to Africa, when we were colonized. Folklore, proverbs, folk songs, and oral traditions were powerful vehicles in which parents of ancient times conveyed and instilled education in their children. This is standards amongst all Igbo communities. But I'm going to speak from my own Nkporo community, right? In a broad sense, everything that is acquired in life, your habits, the knowledge, skills, interests, attitudes, personality, your language, not just, not merely by attending schools, but by the totality of your lifetime experience is education. That's what education is. Education is just not about the fact that you went to school, right? Get a formal education, but it's also the totality of your life experiences. That's what your education is. So in other words, education concerns itself with all the capabilities and habits acquired by a person as a member of a society, making education simply cultural promotion within a given community of human beings. Now, the culture of a nation or race is defined as the customs, information, and skills, domestic and public life, in peace or war, religion, science, art, manifest in transmission of past experiences to the new generation. Culture stems from every component of human existence as a means by which a person adjusts to a given environment and expresses his or her self as not just a learned individual, but somebody who is socially and traditionally astute. Now, I'm saying this to just kind of set up what it is that I want to talk about real briefly. Every human society, whether it's Igbo, Nigerian, Black, Chinese, it doesn't really matter. We have a concept of how life began, right? There are two ways of looking at it. One is looking at it from a macro, which most cultures or religions look at the beginning, life, creation from a macro level. If you look at it from a micro level, then you get deep into it. Then you start to take into account science. You get to understand that science and religion, they make strange bedfellows, but they're really interconnected. They're part of one another. You look at something from a macro perspective because you're just seeing the totality of the finished work. But when you delve into it, now you ask the questions, how did we get here? Right? In Christianity, what was it? In the beginning, there was what? Darkness. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. That's Christianism, right? That is a macro explanation of light. But when you go into the micro part of it, science comes in. Something caused the darkness to become light, right? So in religion, we look at creation from a macro level because we don't really get into the micro level. That information is harder to transmit to the populace unless you have some kind of formal schooling for you to understand the micro component of creation. So on the macro level, in Nkporo cosmogony, in the beginning, Chineke, Chi the creator, was and is in the heavens. We call Igwe. Let me spend some time on this Igwe and heavens right quick. A lot of times when you say heavens, people start thinking about where God is and Jesus went up there, blah, blah, blah. Heavens is just the sky. You have two components, the sky, Igwe, and Ane, earth, the ground, earth, Owa. That's your name. You understand what I'm saying? So when you say heavens, we're not talking about Jesus Christ went up there and came back in 3 days. No, we ain't talking about that. It is just an English word that defines what Igwe is. So I use heaven to say that in the beginning, you had the sky, Igwe, and you had Owa, the earth. And all the living things in the land, in the waters were in, and in the seas were in this Owa. The spirit of Chineke was in it, and everything was good. Now, without going into details as what the differences are between this understanding of the creation or the beginning in Igbo cosmogony and the cosmogony of other nations, just this little description I said right now you will find that same description in just about every other cosmogony that believes in creation. Just said a different way. It almost sounds biblical, doesn't it? Africa, civilization, life, the first human being came from Africa. The first woman, Lucy, was African. So it is not impossible to conclude, or it doesn't sound out of character to conclude, that whatever cosmogony you find in the Middle East has an African root or component to it. Because we also talk about Igwe, we also talk about Ani. Chineke created the first man, and his name was Ifenta. Junior light. Chineke known as a senior light. Then Chineke created the first woman and called the first woman Adam. Adam. She was beautiful. She was beautiful. Her spirit was great. She was this beautiful image. And Chineke says, Nkabo Adam. That's why Igbo people call their first daughters Ada. They call it Ada in Owerri. They call it Ada in Ohofia. They call it Ada in Onitsha. All through, in Enugu, all through Igbo land, the word Ada exists. And Ada means daughter. Adam, first daughter. Now, in Judaism, you say Adam. They're spelled the same. But in Judaism, Adam is a man. In Igbo language, Adam is woman. In Igbo cosmogony. So there's correlation to be drawn there. Where we kind of diverged, it's a different story altogether. But Chineke created Ifenta, then created Adam, not from the ribs. It was just create one, create the other. None was subservient to the other person. Unlike the cosmogony of Judaism or Christianism, where the woman was made from Adam's rib, making you subservient to Adam. In Igbo cosmogony, it was straight up creation. Create man, create woman. Now you can flip it around, create woman, create man. Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'll let you guys pause that out as to who was created first and who was created second. But in Igbo cosmogony, it wasn't important who was created first or created second. The idea of creation was male creation, female creation, and together, life is made possible. Then Chineke says to Ifenta and Adam, everything that I have created around you is for your own good. From trial and error, you will be able to determine those things that are good for you to help perpetuate your existence in this world. I am in you. Whenever you're in trouble, you will always hear my faint voice in you, telling you what to do in times of trouble. And in Igbo cosmogony in Nkporo, we say, Chineke say, Ige ntị n'ala, ganu ikiti ọkpa ndanda. If you put your ears close to the ground, you will hear the footsteps of ants. The footsteps of ants is my voice in you, telling you what is right and what is wrong. There is no action unless you're a mental case. Every human being has a conscience. There is no action that you undertake in this world that something in your mind doesn't tell you that it is right or that it is wrong. If you go to steal, you always inherently know that stealing is bad, but you steal for two reasons. Either you don't care or you feel that it's a necessary thing for you to do for you to survive, because if you don't go and take it, you will die. Maybe you got children to feed. I'm not going to judge you. Maybe there's no other way for you to get sustenance. Maybe you're in a war, and at night you have to sneak out, jump the enemy lines, go and steal some food and bring it back to your family. I don't know what your reason is for stealing, so I'm not going to judge you. I'll leave that up to Chineke. But it is through trial and error that we are able to find things that are good for us and things that are not good for us. When you are eating okra soup, when you're eating greens, colored greens, when you're eating all these things, when you're eating an insect, when you're eating an animal, some animals are good for you, some are not. It took trial and error. It took somebody to eat that plant and die for you to know that that plant ain't no good for you. This is how human beings develop knowledge, trial and error. Even in science today, you go into the lab, you have experiments, you do all kinds of stuff to be able to get the right mixture. In medicine, same thing. So there's nothing that you do in this world, or there's no knowledge that was gained from the beginning of time that did not involve trial and error. Some people had to pay the price with their life for us to know what to do or not what to do, what to eat and not what to eat. It is through trial and error. Again, we look at creation from a macro perspective. Through trial and error, we're able to determine those things that are good for us. We don't really go into the micro aspect of it, because then we will involve science and it will involve a level of training or scholarship for you to now understand how those things really work. It is said that the enemy of religion is what? Science. Some of the things that we ascribe to supernatural forces, as time went on, as our minds and thoughts evolved, we got to find out that there's a scientific explanation for that particular phenomenon. And so it kind of diminished the supernatural aspect of it, because now we can explain it. And perhaps if it's a puzzle, we're able to solve the puzzle. So every culture has its idea of creation. In African cosmogony, the man was never elevated above the woman. Our belief and understanding of creation varies, but there are certain things that are common. And three of the things that I'm going to bring up that are common amongst every Igbo culture, and quite frankly, the world in general, is the idea of a supreme being. Without the idea of a supreme being, we don't really, for the most part, talk about creation. The first principle of creation is the creator. Who made it possible? Who made it happen? Both from a micro and macro level. Then the second component is the heavens, Igwe, and the earth, Owa. Then the third component of creation is the first man and the first woman. How did we get here? This is a puzzle and a question that human beings, including people from my tribe, including all human communities, have always had to ask. And because scientifically we were not that evolved, we all came up with stories that fit our environment, that fit our cultural and our cultural experiences, buttressed by our geography, where we're located. The story of creation to the Eskimo is different from the story of creation to the Amazonian, but they have commonalities. A creator, the first man, the first woman, the heavens, the earth, all the other micro aspects of it is different because the environments are different. So there's no one hat fits all in Igbo cosmogony, but there are certain commonalities that we understand from a macro level. And for this segment, we're dealing with the macro level or the macro aspect of it before we really get into the micro part and the differences between all the other religious philosophies in terms of how we got here. So as far as our cosmogony is concerned, those are the main things that I wanted to touch on without going into the micro level, and then really start going into deep. Then we'll kind of use up all the time we have. So I'm sure that Dr. Chiedozie will now add a little bit to what I just talked about.
Now, before Dr. Chiedozie talks about, because you're free to speak on any aspect of it, but please remember it's important that you speak on the Ifa religion, because you started speaking about Olodumare and their concept of how life was created. But I just kind of want you to go into details. But before you do that, Dibia Ochuaja, I also want us to at some point, and quite frankly, what I love about Chiism, and I've said it to you, and why I'm a devout Chiist is because my father was very, very non-sexist. He was not chauvinistic, and he promoted that because everything that you said, he finds that it's extremely important that we understand that we have equal rights, equal value as Chiists. And as a matter of fact, in our spirituality, there's the concept of Chi, the male energy, and Ike, the female energy. And that in itself lets us know that we're both valued. The male is valued and the female is valued. So when we say Chineke, we're not just saying the God, the creator, we're saying the Chi and Ike together make life. Chi and Ike together make good things happen. You understand? So that is one aspect of our creation, that when Chineke created, it was the male and the female that did that creation, that gave the message to Ifinta and Adam and all of that. So did you want
I just want to say something before Dr. Chiedozie delves into this thing a little bit more, because he sometimes provides some necessary details. But I just want to mention that Chineke did not create anybody to be destitute. Okay? Everything that Chineke created, all the animals and plants, was for our goodness, right? And expected us to mix it in the appropriate, cosmic relationship, which will result in things that would enhance our happiness. We have something called your Ikenga. We were created to listen to ourselves, identify our talent, which will lead us to the hallmarks of our akaraka. It's always said that somebody who does what they love to do, what they have talent in doing, never works a day in their life. Chineke didn't create anybody to be destitute. Whatever your chi tells you to do it. Give it the best effort possible. We all have skills. We all have talents. We all have things that we love to do in our life, and it is important that we listen to that before we even make career decisions. Creation also deals with the question of, what does Chineke look like? I just want to kind of bring this up because sometimes when you see these symbols, God symbols, you could call them effigies, whatever you want to call them. Those God symbols are there because they represent our understanding of what gods look like. Most of the God symbols you see are really in human form. And if we're created in Chineke's image, then we have this subconscious understanding that Chineke looks like us. So whether you're a great artist or not, but you tend to fashion these God symbols, right? That you put in your personal place of worship. You could use the word shrine, or you can call it obasi, as we do in my village, right? I just wanted to point out that the African never worshipped these God symbols. We never worshipped it. There's this general misinformation out there that we worship idols, that those are idols of worship. No.
Thank you.
Those God symbols are there, just like if you walk into a Christian church, you have their God symbol, which is Jesus. Our God symbol is simply in our personal shrine for one thing and one thing only: psychological focusing. That's what that is there for.
Yes.
To keep you in a certain mindset when you're in front of your chi, talking. It is a way to focus your mind. You're not worshiping that idol. It is a God symbol. We've never said, Chineke, because
that's right. Say it again.
Oh God, please come down and help me through this idol. That is not part of African spirituality. That is not part of Chiism. This is a misconception that, thank God, we have this particular topic and forum today that we needed to talk about and get rid of this misconception that Africans worship idols. The idols that you see are simply God symbols representing different aspects of cosmogony, right? Representing different aspects of it. Ofonogu, Anyanwu, Ikenga, Ane, ancestors. All those aspects, all those, the ontology of our spiritual experiences.
Yes.
Our God, the Godhead is Anyanwu. This is it. Anyanwu, that's the God eyes right there. Chiism. In case you all didn't know, that's what this means. It's a God symbol. This is the first level of ontology. The hierarchy of creation is Anyanwu, the sun. And then everything else falls underneath it. So please, let us not leave this forum today thinking that Africans worshipped idols. We didn't. These are just God symbols designed for psychological focusing. Just like people walk into church and they kneel down in front of this effigy of Christ or Mary or whatever, and they do their cross symbols and whatever it is they do. You go into a Buddhist temple, you see Buddha sitting up there. They're not worshiping Buddha. These are all psychological aspects of your focus on something greater than yourself. That's what this is all about. So I just kind of wanted to point it out. And finally, for those people, as far as creation is concerned, that think that Africans knew nothing about God before the Europeans came, let me bring something up right quick. And this is micro. Ada, first daughter. Amarachi, grace of God. Annie, Mother Earth. Chidi, God is. Chidimma, God is good. Chidiebere, God is merciful. Chiedozie, God will keep me. Chisara, God answers my prayers. Chinedum, God guides me. Chima, God knows. Chika, God is the greatest. Reason why I am bringing this up is because Chi, God, already existed in our consciousness before the European came. These names are all a recognition of Chineke before the European or the Muslim came to our shores with the Quran or the Bible. God always existed in our consciousness, and primordially speaking, you could identify the existence of Chineke in our consciousness through the names that we answer to, that I just mentioned or rattled off a few of it. So this is one macro aspect of creation and the understanding that we knew God before the European came to our shores. I just kind of wanted to bring that up. And Chiedozie, take it from there, sir.
Hey, Dibia Ochuaja. You have finished everything now.
He put it out there. He put it out there.
Yeah, so
I had to.
Yeah, so I'm very happy for that. This is a real education for those who don't know. So I would like to say this. I remember while we were being taught philosophy of nature by Professor Ezekiel Kola-Olu-Budawale, he gave us a book written in Russia because he schooled in Russia. His book was written in Russia. Of course, we couldn't read it. Even up to now, I don't think I can read an R out of it. But what is significant about that book is that from his own translation, he said the book documents in Russian 3,000 creation stories from all over the world. 3,000 creation stories from all over the world. Now, there's something significant about the creation stories. Each creation story is akin to an ethnic group. And within a particular ethnic group, you can have one or two or more creation stories, as it is for us Igbos.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, one thing is common about these creation stories: the ontology, the cosmology, and the cosmogony. The ontology is about the primordial beginning, the beginning of beginnings. The cosmology is how the physical things began to manifest. The cosmogony is the relationship, the interrelationship amongst the opposites. Now, no creation story says creation started from the other person. Every creation story locates the beginning of creation at the domain, the doorstep of your own people.
Yes.
One message about this is this: our ancestors knew that chukwu bụ mama. God is all about the best and best and best and best, nothing better. Goodness in itself, beauty in itself. They knew it. And so they knew that this particular essence cannot and should not, must not be realized through the essence of the other. If you do so, you concede superiority to the other.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
And that is why they came up with a cosmology and a cosmogony that says there's an ubiquitous chukwu.
That's right.
This ubiquitous chukwu is nebulous. We cannot capture it in any way. We can't even imagine it. It is beyond our imagination, just like we have not been able to configure anything about ether. We cannot do anything about chukwu. But this chukwu manifests itself in two essences, Eke and Chi.
Ashe Iseo.
Eke and Chi. And since Eke is female, it's Eke that is even proud to Chi, because all Eke na Eke te Chi. It is the Eke.
Oh yeah.
The Eke is what? Eke is what you shared in common with Chiokike. And it is your Eke that attracts your Chi. So that is why the female is prized highly, because she is the one. That's why in our culture, the man goes to battle, he goes to work, he owns farmland, but the manager is the woman.
See?
Yeah.
See?
Our women were never Uriako. They were also Akpatako, also Edejiako.
Yeah.
They were managers. Now, for us not to go too far, now the Yoruba creation story talks about Olodumare. And before I go into that, whether it is Yoruba or Igbo or Yoruba, we believe that the world is cyclical. We don't believe in a linear trajectory. We believe in a cyclical world that has no beginning, no end.
Coming and going.
It is difficult for you to find eschatologies and Chiodoses talking about the end of the world in a typical African world view of creation. Because a circle has no beginning, no end. The place you started is where you end up. And so for God is not a circle, and it's not a circumference, but it represents the totality of everything. And that is why for us, you cannot begin to say when the male or female was created, who was created first.
Yes.
When we came into this world, as we found an egg, we found a chicken. As we found a chicken, we found an egg. So talking about which one is proud, Icho or Icho, is to look for trouble.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Once you say that one is proud to the other, once you say that one is proud to the other, you have looked for eternal trouble. Which is the pain of the world today. So our people did not reduce the world to one. They left the world at the point of the irreducible two, duality. They left it at the level of the irreducible two. The world for the world for Chineke, chukwu to manifest itself into the open. It took a female and a male identity.
Yes.
Yep.
And everything in the world, all creation story, reduced to this.
Yes.
Yep.
But for us, whereas other creation stories, those who emphasize absolute patriarchy, emphasize the male over the female.
Or the female,
as
yeah.
we have among the Caucasians. For us, neither male nor female was emphasized over and above the other. Because
That's right.
ab initio, Chineke is both male and female.
That's
And
right.
if you can recall, in ancient Egypt, when Akhenaten, Pharaoh Amenhotep IV came up with the idea of Athenism.
Mhm.
He's one universal God encompassed male and female identities.
That's
He
right.
refused to name that God male or female because, and that is why in the temples he built, they had two obelisks, two pillars representing male and female.
Yes.
The question of God becoming a male started with the monotheism founded by Moses and then later by Muhammad,
Yep.
reflecting their own culture. So now in the Yoruba cosmology, you find that Olodumare created the world and it was a void. This void had to be given, it had to be configured. And being configured, he sent his messengers. They called them the Irumole. And then these Irumole, they were initially 201. One of them was female, the others were male. And according to the story, when they were sent to the world, they were in between the sky, the waters of the sky, and the waters of the earth. One knew ha, such that they were suspended in between. Their head neither touched the sky, neither did their feet touch the earth, because the earth was all about water. Then they did all they could, they didn't succeed. They had to return to Olodumare in heaven. Heaven for them means the sky, Ujuon, just like for us is Igwe. Now, when they went back to Olodumare said, but you see, you should have put us in the middle. Ihe only na meeting wine in etiti. Ya ihe na agajie. Ina akpata wine na edoji. Ya na go ụmụaka ihe n'ịchọ n'ụlọ, ihe n'ịchọ. It is the mother who said, I will report you to your father. The man in African culture, typical African culture, is a figure for instilling fear and discipline into the children. That is why the Africans created the woman. She is part and parcel of the children. And distance the male. The man comes in, stand looking. And what the woman does is, I will report it to your father. And the children are always terrified of being reported to the father. Once a woman says, I will report you to your father, and if by chance in my own days I was somehow rude to my father, to my mom, if I am rude to my father will just look at me and say, "Okay, babe." That's what he says, my fellow colleague, my fellow man. But if I by any inch rude to my mom, my punishment will no begin and end. So
that's where you cross the line.
The man protected the woman and gave her her position. She sits in her position like Nne as the wine. And they deliberately gave her that position because she's the one that is the hand. She goes with the children. She rears the children. She brings them up. She must be protected for doing that wonderful job. Now, so they had to come back to earth. Oshun was put in the middle, and everything they did now gelled. Of course, they came with a handful of sand, a cockerel, and the chameleon, Okumagada. And then they threw the sand had to answer them, and then the sand began to expand, and gather solidity. They now brought in the cockerel that threw the sand together, make sure the sand was scattered. They now brought the chameleon who tested the ground, and everything gelled. But before then, when Oshun was not part of it, nothing worked. And from that place, they now called it the house that keeps expanding, Ile Ife, the house that expands, Ile Ife. So from there, that's why the Yorubas regard Ife as a citadel of civilization. Now, in the process of making the human being, Olodumare bequeathed to Obatala the molding of the human being, the frame, the physical frame of the human being. Ajala molds the head. So Amandara is the potter of the head, Ori. While Ogun molds the fingers and the legs because it's the god of iron. So it uses the iron to mold the hands and the legs so that you can have partition like my fingers are. Now, Obatala, for the Yorubas, they try to explain deformed human beings. And they say Obatala, he loves wine to a fault. And when he's drunk, he molds manufactured human beings that are crippled. And Olodumare does not question. The only thing that he has is authority of life. So when he comes around, he gives life to everything. So this is the cosmology of the Yorubas. But for them, you can see there's a duality of the male and the female, just as it is for us, the Igbo. And what they're trying to say is that, like for us, the Igbo, we realize God in our own essence, in accordance to the environment around us. We realize God in our own image. And this realization was a social contract, primordial with our ancestors. And since it is the first and very primary way our ancestors realized God, it becomes a touchlight for us, the children, to always use to move. Once we lose that first primordial understanding, we have lost the touch.
Mm-hmm.
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 Every other thing is going to be darkness. So now you will see the cosmology, the ontology, the cosmology, the cosmogony. Everything works hand in hand. And so for us, it's a worldview of vitalism, of pantheism.
Mm-hmm.
God's ubiquitous spirit incarnated the physical universe and put a spirit to everything. And that everything that he puts a spirit to constitutes the Eke and the Chi. For us, the Igbo. And that is why this world we live in, we say, Chiokike manifested itself in this world in four main ways. Eke, Ori, Afo, and Nkwo. Eke being female, water. Ori, male. Then you find Afo. It's also female, earth. Still earth, female. And then Nkwo, fire, it's male. Now you find that Eke and Afo represent permanence, while Ori and Nkwo represent change. Which is why, for us, the first society was female. And female remains important because it is the woman that is the manager, is the one, because the essence of the woman is to hold things together, to bind things together. And say that's why I say when you marry a good woman, she connects every member of the family, member of the society. That's the mark of a good woman for us. And so the female becomes a symbol of unity, while the man becomes a symbol of valor, splendor. So then they went ahead to say these four elements are permitted each one by Chi, and they manifest in terms of Eke, Chi, na Agu. Agu is a coordinating point. If you like it, we can liken Agu to the Greek Hermes. It is a coordinating point between Eke and Chi. So it is it's in Agu that Eke and Chi take form, which is why Agu is very important to the cosmology of the Igbo. The ontology, the cosmology, cosmogony of the Igbo. If anybody has trouble, we want to find out that trouble in the Agu. Once we find out the Agu, we now know whether the solution is in Eke, female, or is in Chi, the male, or it's in both. Then how do we solve it? So you see that our creation story, determines our ontology, determines our cosmology, determines our cosmogony. And from this, we draw our science. So like I said the other time, Western civilization, Western scholarship has done one thing. It has kept building on their own creation stories. The Big Bang theory does not negate the creation story of the Bible. Because if you go to the creation story of the Bible, Yahweh represents 4 elements. Just like we say, Ekeuria from Kwa. He who falls, he who causes to fall. He who blows, he who causes to blow. Yah, he, Yod, he, Vav, he. Still the same 4 elements. Now, in science, the theory of the Big Bang is that once upon a time, 4 elements came together. Water vapor, nitrogen, hydrogen, and one other element. Methane, they came together at the speed of light. And what is God? Dibia Ochuaja defined it. Is where God is light in itself. So at the speed of light, they collided and they caused a big bang. Since there was no space, it caused a combustion that burned for 300,000 years. Now, one thing is common here. Whether it is creation story that was formed at the background of mythology and religion, or a Big Bang theory that is formed on the background of science, they all involve imagination.
Imagination. That's right.
Imagination.
That's what it's about.
Now, the difference is this. Creation story gives us our identity as a people. Big Bang wants to build a general, ubiquitous theory of all things beginning from one spot. And if you follow the Big Bang theory, it will make us lose our identity to the Big Bang. But if you follow creation story, it makes us to trace back our identity to who we are. So what this means is that if you like to borrow the language of Dibia Ochuaja, if you want to play in the micro, which is a scientific understanding of the world, you must play within the macro, because the macro is complete, the micro is incomplete. They won't.
Echo.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Breaking it down.
I
Nice.
just want to add this. I'm excited, and I'm not going to put it out there because we are redoing the website. Let me announce that we've gotten the accreditation for Chiefs University.
Ooh.
Hey. And what that means,
It's on. Yes.
what that
Yes.
means is that we now have our own.
I won't stop dancing. That's a wine.
No, man.
Oh, we want to dance. You want to dance?
This has been.
Yes,
this
I
has
wanna
been.
dance.
This has been the key to this whole thing. Getting the accreditation from Ultra.
Yes, from us.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Now, for those of you who love Chiedozie, Dibia Chiedozie, he is going to be in charge of. He's going to be the dean of African culture and history. So you are going to have one of the top-notch philosophical minds teaching. See, we're not just going out there and just picking anybody from the streets. I mean, we got people, and then he's going to identify all the other people that will be teaching. That's your responsibility as the dean, but you're also going to be teaching. And of course, not Dibia Ochuaja. And hey, what can we say about him? He's going to be in charge. He's the dean of African religious philosophy. Hey, go you. Yes, we are proud. We're proud, and I am going to.
Yeah. Hey, you just keep grinding. You keep working hard. I always say to Oke Dibia, just build it. They will come.
Yes.
Don't worry about. You have a vision. Focus. Build it. They will come. We got great honey. It tastes real good. You start to attract the bees, and before you know it, we have a hive.
That's right. And the thing about it is that everything you learn at this university, you are going to be able to use to play it forward. We're not educating you so you go and get a European to employ you. That's not the point. The point is for you to take your knowledge and go and akum dero bani. Akum dero bani is the philosophy of the university. My wealth lies in my community. So the idea is if you learn what it takes to be a leader in the community, you go out there and lead and change our condition in the world. My father, my dad tells about what his father said to him. He says, I sing more TJ ula akwụkwọ TJ bịara arụ ọrụ bekee. Mr. Gikiji ula akwụkwọ ka m were gede eme nkanka. He says, I'm not sending you to school so that you can go and become a part of, the rest of the world and do European style things. I want you to get this education so I will be proud, so your community will be proud, so you can change our condition. That is what we're hoping, that the graduates of Chiis University will have the knowledge to now go into our community. Don't attend Chiis University so that you can go to corporate America to get a job. You're not going to get it, because what you're not going to find there. They're not going to, do you understand what I'm saying? You are getting I've got a couple of women right now who are going to be getting their PhDs there. And and I love their mindset, because they understand it is about using what you learn to go into our community and spread knowledge, and you will get employment in our community. You can set up businesses in our community and we will support you. You see, this is what we need to understand. You don't have to beg for someone to give you a job. Be the job creator. You graduate from Chiis University, you go and create the jobs. You go and create the jobs and employ your own people. We will support you. If I know that a graduate of Chiis University bakes the best cookies, that's where I buy my cookies. That's why I tell everybody, hey, this is where you buy your cookies. You make the best clothing, I will say, hey, you are the best teacher, I will say, go support him. We akum dere obani. Our wealth lies in our society, in our community, and our education should be meaningful to us. It should not be something that you get now, you got to go live in the suburbs and forget your own people. So if you are hearing us today, the philosophy of Chiis University is akum dere obani. Learn how to say that. Replay what I just said. Akum dere ubani. My wealth lies in my community. That's what your education should be about. And we're going to have some powerful, I'm talking about powerful deans, and these deans, their role is bringing in powerful people for that department. So when you get at a Chiis University, you get an education and what it means to be an African person. We are going to be the university. Bet on it. Brothers, am I right? Am I right?
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely.
It's one of those exercises. Yeah. Listen to this, right? You're a queasy. When you throw in, you'll say, well, if you think this is easy to do, I'm patting myself on the back. That's why the lizard is doing this.
That's right.
Right? The things that we want to do is not ordinary. We're trying to do extraordinary things. According to Dr. Henrik Clark, one of the greatest teachers in our African American community, he's passed on, may his soul rest in peace, he's an ancestor now. I'll say those things that sustained us before slavery and colonization must be continued. If you go to Brandeis University, I think it's in Maryland, you will find that you are attending a university founded by Jews for the best interest of Jews. And it will stay that way. If you don't like it, let the door hit you. But if you want to attend the university the way it is, well, it's all good. You're welcome. He observed that globally, not one so-called black university teaches in African language. Not one of them have a true cause or courses that deals with what happened in Africa. Not one. We don't have any textbooks in any African language, not in Bantu, not in Swahili, not in Yoruba, not in Igbo, not in Hausa. No textbook in science, no textbook in history, not even in literature, which is like the most basic thing. So what we're trying to do here is identify some of the stuff that he identified to become the only black university that will ultimately teach African language, teach African history, look at our people from our own primordial core, and identify what is the criteria for nation formation, nation building, nation management, in that order. That's Pan-Africanism. And to ultimately understand that one of the instruments of unity, which is lacking in our global communities, is looking at Africa as one nation, as opposed to looking at Africa as this fractured geography, where, as opposed to us being one nation, where there's this fraction. You know, I'm Ghanaian, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that. I'm supposed to say, I'm an African. Let the countries become states. Promote African religion and African culture as prerequisite to greatness. You can't build a castle on sand. You can't build up the African nation by professing somebody else's culture and religion and primordial views of how we got here. Everything we do has to be African. Just like everything the Japanese people do is Japanese. Forget about the sciences and computers and all that stuff. Everything the Indians do for the most part is Indian. Does it mean that you don't have opposing views, Indian Christians and all that? You do. But the core of Indian is Hinduism and Sikhism. This is what makes them Indian who they are. It is your culture, your identity, your primordial religion, your core makes you who you are. And that is what is lacking in African communities all over the world. The idea of finding something to unify us, either it is unifying us through a common calendar where we all celebrate African culture, just like the Chinese people celebrate Chinese culture, and there are 1.2 billion of them using the Chinese calendar. The Europeans celebrate their spiritual culture and their history based on the Gregorian calendar. The Hindus, the Indians, they do the same thing. There's Shinto in Japan. Africa needs that. We need a common language. I'm not interested in whether it's Bantu or Swahili or whatever it is. We need a common language in a global African communities that everybody can speak. Stop worrying about why is it Swahili? Why should it be, Igbo? Why should it be Yoruba? Why should it be Ashanti? Why should it be this? Why should it be that? And you lose sight of the idea of unifying Africa under a common language. We already have the race. The only conflict we have in Africa is sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa, where Islam is dominant over there. If we don't have a common language, if we ain't using a common race, we're not using a common religion, we can never unify Africa. We have to do one of those things. If you're fortunate to do all of them, you're even stronger, like the Jews. Same religion, same race, same language, same everything. Nothing different. There are no opposing views. Maybe that's why they were hated in Europe back in 1096 AD. They were hated. They were hated so much because Judaism conflicted with Catholicism. And so they accused the Jews of, how do you say, killing Christian children so that they could drain their blood to bake unleavened bread. I mean, those kind of fantasies. It's like Hansel and Gretel, them believing that, you know, the big bad wolf and Red Riding Hood is real. So you use all those things through, what do you call it, propaganda to demonize one segment of the population, and it's stuck ever since. But anyway, if we can at least do one, hoping that Chiefs University will help provide that avenue, that is one of the things that we are trying to do in Chiism that nobody else is doing, advocating straight up African spirituality, not from a myopic perspective where we just want it to be us, but to look for what it is that we have in common amongst all people of African ancestry and tap into these things to do one thing, build unity, which will allow us to form the African nation. We need that.
Yeah.
Europeans got their nation, everybody else got their stuff. We need that so that we can unify ourselves, be able to get this colonized, or how you say, colonial mentality out of our minds. We don't have the chains anymore, but it's still up here. This is what we need to emancipate. And I think that Chiism is on track to do that through Chiefs University, through Chiism, and through everything that we plan on doing that will help to initiate this emancipation process.
And I just want to thank you, Dibia Ochuaja. I want everybody to know that they on our website chiism.org, that is not the one that we're using. Okay, that is not the real university information. That was the original concept. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be redesigned. I'm going to start that.
Yeah, UD has been given the responsibility to redesign it, and it's got a whole lot more information. It's more exciting, and it certainly also talks about the accreditation itself and the Commission on Accreditation, how that is gotten. Chi's Commission, it's the Chi's Commission, that's the elders of the Godian religion, the College of Propaganda on accreditation. We accredit university institutions and programs of African spiritual higher education based on standards of quality that reflect both higher education and spiritual context from the African perspective, where the Nkomi is central and the development of Chi's Godian life and ministry is essential. That is the purpose of the university. That is what the commission does. I have a gentleman who says that he is. Yes, yes, yes. I'm applying to the university. Yes, because we are launching August 2022 is when the university opens its doors. And so if you're interested, just send us a letter and we'll put your name down, and then we'll inform you when we start accepting registrations. And again, I've introduced you to two of the deans, and we have other deans. And I'm the chancellor of the university, but I also teach. I'm in charge of the leadership department. So I'm so excited, and I know you are. If you're not, you should be, because when people say we can't do, we try to tell them, don't say that again. Don't ever dare anybody who is intent of showing you where they want to go. So that is exciting. That's exciting. You know, at this time, I want to ask our viewers, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please type it right now. And two DBs are going to answer it as well as myself. So instead of just writing comments, we want to hear your questions, your concerns, your thoughts. What would you like to know? We've got 50, well, we've got about 40 minutes. And we are, to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. What do you want to talk about? Let us know. And so we can cover it today. I must say, guys, this has been really an exciting program and very informative. And it just gets better. It just gets better. And I'm hoping that soon we can do 2 shows a week. Because that's when we can feed more and more information. But I also want to remind people, again, please ask questions, but I do want to remind you to continue the donations to dollar sign Ogele for the Obiobasi. I want to thank some of you who have made the donations. And like we said, it doesn't matter how small or how large. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going so that if you're in Nigeria and you're having difficulty, I've given the bank account, and that's the only other way that I know if you're in Nigeria or in Africa is to deposit, into a bank account, because right now Nigeria, I think, I don't know, I think it's PayPal that has banned the use of PayPal. In some African countries, you cannot use PayPal. Where this is what you talk about discrimination. Think about that. Why is it that you can't use PayPal in Africa, yet there are a lot of African people that use PayPal here? Why can't we use PayPal? That's banned. So they just keep banning. And you see, when you give a dog a bad name, then you hang it. When you keep giving impression that you cannot trust Black people with certain things, that's disastrous for us. Okay, because people look at us in ways that's not true. Just because there are some people doing bad things doesn't mean all of us are bad. It's like you here in America. My God, there are things going on in this country. If you just make America about those things, then you don't want to come to the US. You wouldn't want to be here if you based information that is fed to the world about America just based on the killings that go on here, the shootings of Black people, and the thefts, the thuggery, the name it, it's here. But America is much more than that. America has positives. It has negatives, but it has positives. So more emphasis is placed on the positives. But in Africa, more emphasis is placed on the negativity, on all the negatives. And people buy into that. So that if you're an honest person trying to do something, then, Lord, remember, how they are, 419, all of that nonsense, so that it prohibits our ability to do business. So you have people like PayPal saying you can't do business in Africa. Then you have people like, Cash App. You can't do business. And there are millions and millions of business people in Africa who want to do business. That you make it next to impossible to do business. Why? Because of who we are. But if we can start establishing our own things, I just don't understand. I'll be honest. I can't, or maybe you guys know it. I don't understand where an African has not come up with something similar to PayPal.
Infrastructure.
It's difficult. It's sad.
Infrastructure. If you have the right infrastructure, IT requires a lot of infrastructure, and
but that's not their problem. Is not infrastructure, because many Africans have access to internet, and what does it take to be able to make the transaction?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. The infrastructure that is solid means that you have access regardless, right? It's not about, I can get on the internet, but then what? Downloading things and the strength of your signal, the strength of the technology that you need for this to happen, having an honest, PayPal just doesn't exist on its own. There are government regulations. There are a whole lot of things that are involved. If you come up with something in Africa, there's a whole lot of things that involve banks and all that, other than this. So being able to have an honest transaction in Africa, being able to deal with government officials honestly who actually believe that this is going to be to the benefit of the people, this is all part of your infrastructure. So if you don't have that kind of infrastructure that can sustain, business is built on trust. That's it. If you don't have trust, you don't have business.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. It's the trust factor is as a result of those who are doing negative things, and it impacts all of us. Somebody wrote here, Nandi, where will the first on-site Chiefs University campus be established? And do you plan to establish campuses widespread, or will it start online? It's going to start online for now. As we move along, then we will determine based on the activity of the university where the first campus would be. We don't know that right now. We know what's most accessible right now to everybody is online. Is online, yeah. And a lot of universities are online. But we know that depending on our success, then we start mapping out where we can have small campuses, you know. But the vision, Namdi, is global, because we are global people and we need to have opportunities, you know, everywhere we are. Thank you for that comment. Somebody, let's see. Congratulations to us. We have 105 subscribers now. Starting from what? We were what? 15, and we're up to 105.
Something like that. Yes, and yes, in a short period of time, we're up to 105. So that's good. Akimi Bro is doing a good job.
I want to thank Akimi Bro for pushing, and I mean, it's exciting what he's doing. And I know it's his hard work that has earned this. Thank you so much. Continue it. You know, we are in this together. It takes a village. You know, everybody bring, there's an African song, Ojinkoji, go sao, but you know, whatever you have, bring it to the table, bring it to the village. This is our village. Let's everybody bring a talent. We don't, you know, we don't discriminate. And I want it to be clear. I don't care who you are, but if you're African and you're developing the mindset to understand that you matter and your people matter and your things matter, we're not saying to hate anybody, because you can't. The world is, you know, interconnected, but you've got to get to the point that you matter enough that you want to know more about yourself, do more for your people. As a matter of fact, you get respect from the rest of the world because you're doing for yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, people are not happy. Well, the word is not happy. People are not proud of people who depend on others. As a matter of fact, if you know somebody, you want to visit them. You know what I'm saying? You know, it doesn't matter how much money they have. If they don't know who they are, they don't reflect who you are. If you don't know them, they matter enough. Money is not everything. What's important is that we recognize ourselves. So we build ourselves up, and once we build ourselves up, we have something in common with other people. Now they want to come and visit you. Now they want to know about you. They don't have anything. They just have what I got. But if you have something to share with other people, something new to teach other people, they will come and know about you. Who are these people? Like we have, I'm just going to say this. I got neighbors. I don't go to see any of my neighbors, not because there's anything wrong with them. There's nothing special about them. I don't see them doing anything special. But one man from Jamaica moved in next door. Honey, let me tell you, if you go out in the morning, everybody's there talking to him. Everybody, he's got neighbors with coffee and everything. Everybody's talking to him. Why? Because he's bringing something to the table. The house that he bought, it's amazing what he's done to it. It is so beautiful. It makes the community stand out. Everybody just wants to go, you know, shake his hand and say, hey, how you doing? This is awesome. This is the same thing with us. You must bring something to the table if you want to be respected. If you want respect, you got to bring something. If you want to sit at the table, wash your hands. Washing your hands means bringing something. Don't just come to take. Don't say, no. You don't raise your hand and say, you know, some of us, Dibia, we don't even raise the eye. We take our time raising it. And if somebody backs, we put it down. You see what I mean? But if you have pride, you put it up there and say, hey, look at me, I got this. But if you're not sure, you raising it and you bringing it down because somebody's not going to be, respect you, interrupting them, so to speak. You know, so this is what we're trying to do. This is what Chiism is about. Not to put people down, but to stand up and say, hey, look at us. We got something. We want you to come and know, come and learn, and
we're here.
Move the misconceptions about us as proud people. We are a proud nation. We are proud people. Look at our history. We are people with heart. And that is why when you go to the village, you see along the road where the farmers would tie corn. They'll tie yams on trees, on fences. So if you're a poor person, you can walk down the street and just get something to eat. They don't want to see poor people. Akum, they don't obani. My wealth lies in my community. If I'm rich and my community is poor, I'm not rich. Obey, your poverty is not the poverty, your poverty. Poverty is the poverty of your community. This is who we are as a people. That's our spirituality. That's our spirituality, helping each other rise. I have in my bathroom, I have a picture of a black man reaching down and pulling up his brother. You can't beat that. That's what it is. We're supposed to pull each other up. We're not supposed to show each other what we got. Oh, I got this, you don't. That's not our spirituality. Our spirituality is if I have it, I don't care, I will share. I will share. Even in our when we pour libations, when we get ready to eat, we throw some food on the floor for the ancestors. Or whatever contraption we want to put it in. To say, hey, share. If we know somebody is hungry, we invite them to come and eat. That was our tradition. A lot of that has been lost, unfortunately. But we need to revive that. We need to revive that. Let me see if there's any other questions that we can answer. Let's see. Hakimi Bro say, oh, don't worry. I'm just at 1% of my power. Ha! Better things to come. Yes, I'm just experimenting at the moment. Yes, you are. And you're doing a marvelous job. We're so proud of you. I am. You got a proud auntie. Here, big facts. This is from Nambi. Same is in regards to PayPal and other digital financial apps in Nigeria. There needs to be a better source of leadership that has a better understanding of economic distribution. Most leadership in Nigeria hoard the country's funds with a fake sense of wealth. But if opportunities are not given to the people in the country will remain poor. Thus, so is the leadership. We are trying so hard to emulate Western society that we forget ours exist, and thus the reason for it. Yes, I say, well, good point.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute left for me to end this program. So, Judy, whatever you say, you got 2 seconds to say.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you have a service like PayPal, it has to be outside the country and have people subscribe. Because if you want to do it from Nigeria, government officials will want a piece of the action. Yeah. It's a mafia state, and that's just the way it is. Yeah.
Well, listen, we have come to the end of our program today. We've got Dibia Chiedozie. I see you. Afromge. Dalo, thank you for your wonderful philosophical thought. You added so much. You always do. You add so much to our program. Dibia Ochuaja Yudi, Imela. All of you who joined us, thank you so very much for your comments, for your dedication. Some of you just keep coming. Some of you are coming from African spirituality on YouTube. Some of you Chiism Live, and we're so grateful that you keep joining us. We're going to have another exciting show for you next week, and I hope that you will join us again. Thank you. Kachi Kemesiano. Udodirunu. Yagazie.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Anyị na-eto Chineke onye kere ụwa. Anyị na-eto Chineke eke kere ụwa. Anyị na-eto Chineke onye kere ụwa. Anyị na-eto Chineke eke kere ụwa. Maka ihe ọma niile o mere anyị. Anyị ekele Chineke. Anyị ekele onye kere ụwa maka ihe o mere anyị. Anyị na-eto